going to get you to introduce yourself and tell us when and how you were involved with the Queensland Shakespeare Ensemble.
Sure. So I'm Philippe Klaus. I was an apprentice in, I think it was 2008, which is quite a long time ago,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was my involvement. I did a little bit of training, I think, before that, the year before, just like those workshops, those drop-in classes. I'd seen a few shows. Um, yeah, wanted to do it more seriously. Yeah, and then I was an apprentice for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
And
that
you
was
were
it.
in that production of Twelfth Night that year?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I did Sebastian, and
yes.
you did Olivia.
I did.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Um, so I know we're flexing like long-term memory here, but can you
yeah.
describe your experience during that time with QSE?
Yeah, I can. I remember it being very, very communal, which was a big surprise to me. And the way I remember we were a really nerdy group of apprentices who'd come to every rehearsals and watch you guys do everything and hope to be, used and for like a little improv or something. But yeah, it was very not hierarchical, and even if you were coming into the room to just watch, you would have, you'd be involved in the check-in and involved in all of the exercises. And yeah, there was a real kind of community about it that I wasn't quite expecting.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um, Big chunk of time between now and then. What have you
yeah,
been up to?
yeah, sure.
In 10 words or less. No,
Yeah,
take as
yeah.
much time as you need.
Um, I went to drama school straight afterwards. So I went to WAPA, so I went to Perth straight after the apprenticeship. Then I ended up with an agent in Sydney. So I worked I'm still living in Sydney, technically. I started off in film and television, more so, and then did a bunch of independent theatre, independent film and TV. Went back to Brisbane a couple of years ago to do that show at Queensland Theatre. And I'm filming right now, which is nice, in Melbourne on a job. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Are you
yeah.
allowed to say what you're doing in Melbourne or just that you're filming?
I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the name,
Oh,
but
no.
it's a
Don't.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
But it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I think I can say it's a thriller, and it's yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll
I
keep an eye out.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so a QSE apprenticeship
Yeah.
and then over to WAPA and a whole lot of stuff since.
Yeah.
Um, how would you say your career and artistic practice have evolved over that time?
Um I guess it's become a little less egotistical and a little bit more Uh, I guess I'm more sensitive to what the project's like as a whole rather than just my role in it
Mm.
or what it's going to mean for me per se. Um, yeah, and I think because I've sort of stopped separating things as much as I used to in terms of whether it's the difference between theater and film or even like music and acting, because I still work as a pianist, and
Mhm.
I did a little bit of music for you guys. That's coming back to me now.
Yeah.
And I guess and I've done I haven't I wouldn't describe myself as a filmmaker or writer or anything, but there have been a couple of passion projects that I've done just for myself. And so I think that everything is sort of a little less separate and kind of um yeah, it doesn't feel so much like I'm putting on different hats as much anymore, depending on the job. It feels more like there's such commonalities in all of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
This might tie into what you were just saying there, but are there
Yeah.
any, if you think back to your training with QSE, like predominantly the apprenticeship, but anything else
Yeah.
that you had to go at,
Yeah.
um, any like specific skills or values that you developed during that time that for all of the changes and different stuff you've done, you're
Yeah.
still using today?
Quite a lot. So I remember that with Queasy, the emphasis was always on not controlling what you're going to do or what you're about to do. And that was there, in the voice. I remember whenever we did a drop in or a workshop, uh, particularly people who just come in and drop in from outside, they'd sometimes say, I want to have more control of the way that I sound and more control of what I'm
Ooh.
doing. And Rob would always say that's kind of the opposite of what we're going to do here. Um, but hopefully this is what you didn't know you wanted. And I think so that sense of always finding the freedom and not making something happen, but always letting something happen,
Mm.
um, I think was really kind of front and center uh, in the company when I was there. And since then, I've worked on a lot of jobs where, sometimes it does get incredibly specific, like hit this mark exactly here, wait exactly this amount of time, and, you have to say it with this intention. But even then, the job is always to find as much freedom, as much spontaneity as you can, even when the parameters are really, really small. So I think that's something that started with Queasy and yeah, that I've kept. And also just Rob's knowledge of the plays and the way that the plays speak to each other. He'd work on a scene like we did Twelfth Night together, and I remember when he was talking about Viola, maybe he'd mention Rosalind because she kind of goes through a similar thing, and they have that similar um these same ideas and these same themes keep coming up. There's echoes of what happens. Uh, the like the theme of how men and women have quite a different relationship to sex, and that it's quite hard to meet in the middle. I think that comes up in both relationships. And yeah, so things like that. That's just an example that I've come up with off the top of my head. But yeah, the way that the different plays, and especially the plays that maybe I didn't know very well,
Mm.
influence all of the others. So every time you work on a Shakespeare play, you're actually working on maybe a different Shakespeare play.
I feel like that
That
really ties into that idea of everyone sitting in the room together for each other's work, like not just
yeah.
showing up for your own scenes. That at the
Yes.
end of an advanced training session, you've kind of sat in the world of 6 different scenes that night, only one
Yeah.
of which you might actually be getting up and working on, but kind of working out how all the little I know the links and the spiders webs and how it all joins together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Um, I feel like you've probably already covered this, but I'll ask you anyway. To that idea of community and like developing as artists in, I guess, non-individualistic ways,
Yeah.
um, what do you reckon some of the benefits are of being part of an ensemble for maybe both artists, but also, I guess, the broader community?
Companies like Queasy have more scope to do what they want and to kind of follow where the artistic impulse is going, because all of the major companies they just kind of feel a bit horse-drawn and quartered in terms of their incentives, right? Because the sponsors need one thing, the board wants one thing, the subscribers want another thing, and then you have to do a completely different thing to get in new audiences. And so it doesn't have like a very clear momentum a lot of the time. And when it's kind of the smaller independent theater companies that aren't beholden to so many different people and beholden to so many different groups that have a chance to kind of follow the impulse that um, is true to them. And yeah, I think uh, Queasy did that in that even though Shakespeare's so obviously so widely performed. It had a particular kind of um, take on Shakespeare, in that it always wanted to kind of take it off its pedestal a bit. I think was pretty
Mm.
central to the ethos of the company. Like there's a lot of time um, kind of deciphering all of the dirty jokes and
An important part of the training.
a hugely important part of the
Yeah.
training. It actually really is, yeah. To
Yeah.
just kind of uh and those bits that are so silly, like I remember, I don't know if it was Rob, but someone always, yeah, I think it was Rob, used to say there's always a character who comes in and apologizes for the play in every play.
Yeah.
And like it's like knowing that there are these silly moments like that, and where, you know, all the what we would think of as the um you know, all the theatrical conventions that we're used to as a modern audience just kind of come down, and there are these moments where everybody really acknowledges that this is an audience and we are players, and we're going to speak to you directly now about something that maybe doesn't even, you know, fit the world of the characters and the world of the play, but acknowledges the situation that we're actually in.
I think
Yeah.
that's why audiencing in Shakespeare also feels like it asks a little bit more of you, because you're not allowed to just lean back and let it wash over you. Like the
Yeah.
actors are constantly like making eye contact or referencing that you're watching a play, or all of those things that have to keep you
Yeah.
engaged in the seat, I think.
Yes, that's right. I'd forgotten that we always used to look directly at the audience as
Oh, we
well.
love it.
Yeah, for everything. Yeah, which changes the style of playing so much. Um, yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
I have a couple more questions if
yeah.
that's all right.
Go for it.
Um, One is, what would you say to someone who might be considering the apprenticeship? Acknowledging it might have changed a little bit since you did it, but
Yeah,
the skeleton of it's pretty solid and similar.
yeah, sure. I would say that uh, they know that Rob knows his Shakespeare back to front. And so if you're interested in Shakespeare and, you know, want to work with someone who really knows those plays and um, knows the way that they speak to each other, it's a really good idea. I'd also say it's a uh, you know, it's set up, the structure is set up to be a really supportive community, kind of regardless of who's in there, actually. Yeah. I did meet, we did have a wonderful ensemble, but I think that it's the way that everything is set up that it's very hard not to warm to people and warm to working with them and warm to watching them work with the kind of structure that you have. Um, yeah, and I would also say there's some, you know, really good voice principles. It's really good at not making not making voice this technical thing that you work on separately to everything else. That's about you know, how many lines can you say in a breath? Yeah, anything too showy and theatery. And even when you are doing, say, I don't know, articulation or something, always linking that back to the point of this is to get more meaning,
Mm.
get more truth out of everything you're saying. Yeah, I think I'd say those three things.
Awesome. Very important, final question.
Yes.
When people are getting to watch this and hear you,
Yeah.
we will be in the middle of our annual appeal.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get you to say what you would say to someone who was thinking about donating to QSE's annual appeal.
I would say, you know, when you find a independent theater company that you really like, and when, um, and if you have the money to give, uh, I would say they really need you, and that there's a real opportunity for theater to do something interesting at the moment. I think that, you know, uh, film is kind of getting a bit diluted at the moment because everyone's on screen all the time. So it's not as meaningful anymore to make movies and film and TV, they don't make quite as much money as they used to. And everything in that industry is kind of a little bit precarious and things are falling apart a little bit. And I think there is a longing in the community as a whole for live theatre and for live things and for offline things, particularly. Um, I think, people have been online a lot lately. Uh, Still from, I think it's still a hangover from COVID, but we all spent just so much time online and not really connecting with people in a flesh and blood way.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's something that's going to happen soon or in the next 5 years or 10 years, but I would not, I'm going to bet that there will be a swing back at some point back towards live things. And there's an opportunity for theatre to, um, yeah, be popular again.
Yay! That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I think it's the smaller independent theatre companies that will lead that charge because, as I said before, they have the um, option to do what they want, follow their real impulse, and build an audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you.